Hello, Canada Files viewers. This is Aidan Jonah, editor-in-chief of the Canada Files. There has been a big story brewing in this last week or two or three, and we have an individual speaking with the Canada Files who's had a big part to play in this situation. Firas Al-Najim of Canadian Defenders for Human Rights. Firas, thanks for speaking with Canada Files.
Thank you, and I appreciate the time and efforts from your program and your work.
Thank you very much, Firas. So let's get right into it. There was supposed to be a vigil in the city of Mississauga. What inspired this to go ahead in the first place? We obviously know about the tragic martyrdom of Yahya Sinwar, but let's talk about this timing, right? How did this come
Yeah.
about? Why does this come all the way in November?
Yes, because it's actually 40 days after the martyrdom of Yahya Sinwar. It's 40 days, and it's actually symbolic within the culture in the Middle East and Muslims that 40 days after a person has passed away, they usually hold some type of commemoration where people get together and remember this person. And Mr. Yahya Sinwar um, was a very revolutionary person, a very important person fighting for the rights of the Palestinians. Um, we understand he's been defamed by the media in the illegitimate Zionist regime, and also we know that he's been defamed in a lot of the Western countries as well, as a bad person, as a murderer, as a killer, and so on. We wanted to clarify that and speak about his life and his struggles that he went through and how he sealed his life, how he continued to struggle until the last breath and last blood drop, that he continued to fight the uh, colonial powers, and he continued to fight this occupation. And fortunately, the video that was streamed all over social media and media showed that he never gave up and he fought to the end. And you can see that he even picked up a stick to fight against a drone and against a tank and against a fighter jet. And he also tempted and did throw the stick against them, and he infantry was murdered. And that is showing the symbolic strength of the Palestinians and how he represents the Palestinian identity more than probably anybody else in the history of Palestine, to be honest with you.
All right, for us. So before we go a little forward on this front, can you introduce people to CD4HR's work? Because people may say, okay, there's this good vigil that was supposed to be coming along, but who exactly is putting this on?
We have a committee of dedicated, caring people here in Canada. And we have also, people that we coordinate as well, in different countries. We're focused mostly on the most oppressed countries and the most people in dire situations. And from our study and our analysis today and for these past years has been Yemen and Gaza. And Palestine in general, but by Gaza because of the blockade, the severe blockade, and how it's also known as the open air prison, the concentration camp, and so on. So we try to help these people over there by bringing them a voice, and at the same time, assisting with aid campaigns, to help these, different people that are oppressed over there, like families, people suffering, with lack of funds to pay for basic necessities for the just to survive for their kids, for their families, building tents, things like that. Surgeries for certain cases where people, have to sometimes leave the country because lack of hospital equipment, things like that. Um, and we're trying to advocate. We're trying to lobby as well. Obviously, it's very difficult to lobby in Canada if you don't have massive amount of funds and resources and allies. And the thing is, As you know, the Zionist lobby, CJA, and there's their what do you want to say? Their attack dogs, Benai Birth, and Friends of Simon, and all these different organizations that jump on. They have some rich people that back them up inside Canada, and they kind of started kind of like they systematically control a lot of these politicians, um, or they bully a lot of these politicians that they cannot stand up and speak out. But there is those few rare gems, and they're extinct these days, but they're still there. And one of them is Carolyn Parrish. We didn't know until this issue happened and this battle happened, and we've seen that she stood up firmly for what she believes, and that is obviously for the rights and freedoms of people in Canada to express their opinion. And one of them was to have a vigil for Yahya Sinwar. And obviously, there's two sides to this battle, but the Israelis want only their side to be heard and their side to be imposed on everybody. And we can see that by this vigil that we're holding. They call him, the mastermind of the October 7th, as they call it, the terror attack, the worst, attack on Jews since the Holocaust and so on. They've made so many different narratives and built these narratives on the Palestinians, and at the same time, they call him the butcher of Han Yunis. But the true butcher of Han Yunis, as we can see today, we read the news that the International Criminal Court issued warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant and all these criminals. So, but they're not going to accept that. They're going to debunk this, and they're going to make it look like this ICC or ICJ or any organization. They will call them illegitimate. They'll call them biased and so on. They always come up with some type of label, to fight back any accountability. They will, it's either you're a terror supporter, or you're an anti-Semite. You know what I mean? And they've run out of cards actually, and they've run out of like anything authentic anymore. So as you can see, it was very clear that Carolyn Parrish, the mayor of Mississauga, that has been in the political world for a very long time in Canada, actually. She's not new to all this, what's going on. And she's been to Palestine 5 times. She has visited the Holy Land. She has visited Jenin. She has visited Gaza. She's visited a lot of these places. And she's seen the crimes. She's seen the hard life of the Palestinians. She's seen the cruelty of the IDF soldiers. She's seen how the differences between the Israeli life and the Palestinian life. And she believes in equality. She believes in justice. She believes in human rights. As she likes it in Canada, and she likes the diverse system here, and she sees that everybody should be equally treated from whatever background they are in Canada, and everybody should have the same rights. But the Israelis want to have the big privileges, and the other people, they don't have that. They're not allowed to have that. And we've seen that right now with the situation right now with the November 26th vigil.
Let's talk about this in terms of Parrish. I saw some interesting tweets, even when I saw there's a 2015 tweet of hers talking about how she felt Zionists were very, dishonest, how she wouldn't bother engaging in debate with them. Obviously, you spoke to the fact that she's visited Palestine before. Now, I believe she also made comments calling Paul Martin something along the lines of weak. Previously opposed, I believe she opposed the Iraq War. I think I even saw that
Yes, correct.
yeah. So this is quite the figure, and even I have to admit, I'm surprised I wouldn't have been aware of a figure like that making those kind of comments. You would actually think that, activists in Canada would have more interest in getting people to know, but that's
Mm,
the interesting thing of life sometimes. So
yeah.
let's talk about this backlash a little bit more. So when did you have the first contact with the city of Mississauga about this vigil for Celebration Square? Because there wasn't really a pattern of, actually reaching out to the city, because the
Yeah.
city doesn't really tend to handle the events around that public square. So when was the first contact with the city?
It was a little bit later on, after issue statements and so on. Because in the beginning, we did this last year as well. We did a vigil last year for the Palestinian martyrs and remembering also the peacekeepers that fought for Canada. We did that on November 11th, the year before in 2023. Um, so we thought this year, like, we can change the date also because we don't want to maybe disrupt the November 11th Remembrance Day, ceremonies and so on. And then at the same time, it also coincided with Yahya Sinwar's 40th day, and it still would be in November. So we chose to do it on November 26th. And then obviously there was a little bit of, misunderstanding, I think, from the city at the beginning. As you can see, there was an issue statement that this event is not going on and it's not a real event, possibly, or so on, by some kind of Muslim organization. And Mrs. Parrish, retweeted it and used it um, as kind of a front to issue her statement. But that's because there was a little bit of miscoordination as well. This organization didn't even reach out to us. If they did, maybe would have been differently dealt with. So then after that, we did get in touch with some some people with the city, and I spoke also with somebody in the head security of Mississauga City, and they said that it was fine. That this is, even after all this controversy and all these problems and all these attacks and all these articles and everything, and after the mayor spoke in the city hall, saying that your terrorist is somebody else's terrorist. It could be not a terrorist for another person. She made the statement for first essential statement was that this is a charter of rights and freedoms, and people can practice this, and we're not going to interrupt this, and we're not going to, we haven't issued a permit, but she said there's no permit usually for vigils anyways. There's no permit. It's public property, so people are allowed to do these type of events. And that's when they bombarded her and all these organizations, and the same organizations that bombard a lot of these politicians if they speak one word in defense of Palestine or recognize the Palestinian state or wearing up some type of little watermelon symbol, anything like that. They'll just attack, attack, attack. Anything to do with Palestinian rights or Palestinian identity or anything like that. These same organizations are on it. You know what I mean? They're like pretty much uh I don't know, you want to call them like bloodthirsty wolves, you know what I mean? Like, what do you want to call them? I don't know. There's a lot of different labels you can call them. They don't have any respect for human rights, and they don't respect the Palestinians and what has incurred in their life. And they're all accomplices in these war crimes. This is very clear. But anyways, is that she issued a statement saying that, and that's when they bombarded her. Then she thought that maybe the event wasn't happening, okay, because this one organization issued some type of statement. So she retweeted saying that, like, calm down, that maybe this is not even happening. You know what I mean? And right before they actually made that statement, I already put out the flyer, publicly on the page. Like, we put it on our page, on CD4HR's page, and then they started to claim she's lying and this is a real event and that she's not being honest and so. But she was being honest. She didn't know that this was really happening. She just knew there was a flyer out, and she didn't know who was behind it and so on. Plus, we were busy with other things as well. We did receive, a good amount of emails, okay, because the flyer did circulate in many places, especially because what the pro-Israelis did is they exploited the poppies, right? The poppies and the slogan saying "Lest we forget." So they exploited that to kind of get the public against us, as if we're hijacking the poppies and the Remembrance Day, and that we don't respect it, and so on. They want this kind of controversy. They love seditions. They love problems. They love to have everybody hate Palestinians and the Palestinian rights and so on. And they want that public opinion to work against us. But it turned against them this time. And it's all turning against them anyways, from the grounds in Gaza, from what they're committing as crimes, the Israelis in Gaza, this Holocaust that they're committing, this genocide that they're committing inside Gaza, has already made the public opinion work against them on a heavy level. And they know that whatever they've been working on for years is just pretty much dismantling and destructing. And the thing is, now with this, they thought they could do that. They did receive a good amount of people that fell prey to their project. And like I said, they kept building on and mostly highlighting the part that these people don't respect Remembrance Day. They don't respect the soldiers that fell in the fight for Canada and for Canadian history and so on. So we received many emails, because what they did is they took the whole flyer with the email at the bottom there, and they put it all over on different social media platforms, and they wrote many articles. And obviously journalists that are pro-Israeli Zionist, probably bought out by the Israelis. Maybe they're just like mercenaries for the Israelis, but most likely. And they made these toxic articles, lots of lies involved inside, and so on. And they tried to create like a bad image and name for CD4HR or for Firas, Al-Najim, myself, claiming different things. But anyways, we got lots of emails by people that are kind of like Islamophobic, anti-refugee, threats, lots of threats, that this is, you'll be taught a lesson at this, or we're going to be coming here and you're not going to have this event, and so on. So we got a lot of different emails from different people. So this is one of the reasons why, when we studied the situation and we did get in contact with some people in the city of Mississauga, we felt the best thing was to cancel this at this moment, to cancel this event at this moment, because there was a security issue. There's a safety issue, and we care about that in our city. We care about our city. I care about Mississauga. I care about the mayor's, responsibilities, especially now that we have a insecurity emergency for food. There's a problem here. There's a food problem. For people who are having a problem getting the basic foods just to survive. So at that point, we did the study together as a committee, and we believed that that was the best decision to cancel at the moment, so we can kind of de-escalate the issue and let the mayor, work on her responsibilities. And we also did send a letter to the city, letting them know that we want to contribute and we want to work as a team to help eradicate this food insecurity. And they were very happy to hear that. And we were presented with some different options of what we could do, for instance, collecting funds or collecting food cans and different types of foods, and then giving them to the food bank. Different projects that we could do to help the city in this time. So we put that as a priority, and we said, okay, you know what, the vigil, we will work on that, at the right time, possibly. And this is based on our meetings that we're going to have, and we're going to discuss what we want to do with this vigil. So that we haven't made a final decision yet, but the decision at that time was to care about the city, care about the conditions and the circumstances that we're living on, and we made that decision. We did not make it because we were threatened, and people know Mr. Frost on the gym history, that we used to walk into Bathurst and Shepherd and Steeles and all these areas, and protest against the Israelis when they did the walk with Israel. When we, at that time, before this Gaza Holocaust, there was not as much activists at that time. We used to go there very outnumbered, and we would receive threats from, for instance, JDL extremist Meyer Weinstein, saying that we'll break your legs if you come to the area, and so on. This is the type of threats that we receive from these people, and it was public all over social media and so on. And we still made it on the ground, and they called it the Jewish neighborhood or whatever they want to call it. They want to make it another colonial state over there in Thornhill and North York, Vaughan area, that connecting area there. But we still came there and we made our stand, and we didn't fear them. So we're not really fearful of their attacks and so on. But at the end of the
Right, and
day,
so Firas, this was a point because you brought up Mayor Weinstein that we were going to talk about eventually. Mayor Weinstein himself, through the Israel Now account, told you, killed you, Firas and Al-Najim, and CD4HR, knowing the history of the organization and yourself, that you need to apologize to the Jewish community, of course, Zionists. Straight out offering again to help you write an apology, as if Firas al-Najim was gonna get Mayor Weinstein's gracious assistance in capitulation to Zionism. I mean, what goes through this sicko's head?
yeah. This is just some satanic sarcasm. He's trying to play little dirty games. He's just very weak, and that's why he gets to this level of, trying to chat and have some type of messaging and so on. He thinks he's actually victorious. He actually claimed victory that because of our pressures, because our intention was to come to Mississauga to protest and so on, and that has nothing to do with it in so whatsoever. We wanted to de-escalate the issue. We wanted to respect the city of Mississauga, and their advice as well. And nobody told us not to do this. Nobody forced us not to do this. Nobody threatened us or intimidated us not to do this. We you know what I mean? Like, we are following the laws. We respect the police, okay? We respect the city of Mississauga. We respect the security in Mississauga that work outside the city of Mississauga premises. We respect all these people. We're not coming here to clash with these people. We're coming here to have a vigil, a peaceful vigil. A vigil that we had last year was very peaceful, very calm. We had candles, we had pictures, we spoke about everything. We tried to clarify different dimensions of the issues. We had a live stream with Press TV, I think at that time possibly. Rebel News popped out of nowhere, with their controversial, different journalists. I don't know if you want to call them journalists. I look at them as like some type of fake news, some propaganda for the pro-Israelis, and some messed up media that these guys come up with. Like the stuff that they speak about, it all contradicts each other and so on. Anyways, put that aside. I still spoke to Rebel News at that time, and I mentioned to him that we're here to commemorate the Palestinian martyrs at that time, and we're here to commemorate the peacekeepers that fought to broker peace in the world in the name of Canada. Yeah, that's it. We were not intimidated in any way for us to back off because of that reason.
Right, for us. So I think the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that is there, it does need to be emphasized, right? Because we want to take a little bit more through the pressure campaign and talk in a little more detail. So with Mrs. Parrish's statements, first of all, there was a response to B'nai B'rith Canada. And by this point, she seemed to be aware that there was a group, CD4HR, that was going to pursue such a vigil. But again, you notice that it's very strong. It's very strong in a statement, right? One of these things. In the case of the event in question, any other protest that may use public space, a permit is not required, nor can the city force a group to apply for one. And so what's interesting, obviously, is she goes through the legalese, the MSM requirements. Obviously, threats of violence, etc., not being tolerated. We all know.
Yeah, that's normal.
But
Normal.
of course, I mean, that's the basic law. But you have that quite fascinating, and then you have Nybreth writing to Ms. Parrish on the 16th, and they get upset. They start to claim, B'nai B'rith, that they're ignoring these supposed regulations. And this is where it's interesting because you talk about Parrish, speaking about some people's terrorists, right, being other people's heroes, right? And I believe there was a comparison to Mandela, right? that she made?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, now carrying
Because
on.
they, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, carrying on. Right, it's because specifically talking about the glorification of this terror. I'm speaking in general terms that was what they got upset about. But then they're talking about too about they're trying to push this line again that the city has to take control over all of these individual events. So we what we see, right, really consistently is simply put, the Zionists don't want the laws to apply when it's not convenient to them. Firas, let's take it away a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's just about who complies with them, who walks on their narrative, who talks on their narrative, who parrots at their narrative, and that's what it is. It's if it's against them, if it's not in line with their agenda or against their agenda, or you know what I mean. At that point, it's illegal, and the police have to get involved, and there should be pressure from the city, from all the MPs, all the MPPs, all the councillors, all the senators to condemn this organization, to condemn this individual, to condemn what they said, and then they'll create this whole false flag type of atmosphere, and it's exactly what Israel does. Israel does the same thing. The state of Israel say, "Oh, this is a terror organization," and they'll make up this thing about the human shields and this and that and this and that, and they're hitting schools and they're hitting that, and then they will justify their attack on that person. And this is exactly what they do here. They create this atmosphere of these people are dangerous, these people are supporting terrorism, and these people are this and that, and then boom, they'll push pressure for the police to arrest and kind of alter the laws to their benefit. And their benefit obviously is to suppress us because they're a suppressive uh, entity as a whole, and they're part of this entity. Like these lobbies are part of the entity. They try to give it more oxygen, but they're losing oxygen. They're losing oxygen. As I truly believe in the Islamic Republic of Iran and its leadership, Imam Khamenei. I believe in them. Why? Because they have been firmly supporting the Palestinian resistance and the axis of resistance for all these years. And this is the axis that is truly fighting against the Zionist regime. Like I said, there's two parts to this fight. There's either the axis of resistance or there is Israel. And we choose to be with the axis of resistance. And Imam Khamenei said in the beginning of this battle, he said that Israel is breathing its last breaths. And that is because of the crimes that they're committing, the outcry, the wide amount of highlighting to this issue now because of social media. Even though we're also censored on a heavy level on social media, but it's still spreading, and people in the world are starting to see what this cruel, criminal, colonial system Israel is doing to the Palestinians for all these years. We're just seeing a little piece of it, but it's enough, I think, for a lot of people, this consciousness to wake up and say, that's it, I'm done with this regime. I will not support it, and I don't want to be an accomplice, and I don't want my government to be part of this. And you can see the diversity of faces and like the religions, the colors, the ethnicities, the backgrounds of people that are in these protests now. It's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing and it's spectacular because it's something like it's shaping that way. It's just we believe it's by God and by humanity. You know what I mean? That it's a great awakening. That the type of people I see there, I was like, wow. Like you'll see Asians there, you'll see blacks there, you'll see people from different backgrounds all fighting for this cause, and they've never been there. They've never really married somebody from that location, from Palestine, and they still so care about it, and they spend so much of their time. They dedicate it, and so a lot of them are ready to sacrifice their jobs and their careers, and even being students in schools and so on or universities, and they're willing to lose that possibly just to stand up for the oppressed people and bring a voice to these voiceless people. And I think Carolyn Parrish did an unprecedented move by issuing two statements. That's why they're so mad, because she doubled down, as they said. They said that she doubled down. This is a rarity with these politicians. I mean, I know this because I've had my fair share of interactions with different politicians, and we've seen the previous and former uh, mayor, Bonnie Crombie. I had a situation with her where I met her at the Walk for Palestine. It was, I think, the Walk for Palestine or with Palestine. And she came there, and I had a sign that said, the Palestinian Holocaust made by the Zionists, and it had pictures of like women holding their dead children and all these, kind of like dead children and like Palestinian suffering, women crying, and so on. And I held the picture with her. She saw it. I held it with her and I took a picture with her. And I held the picture for literally at least 20, 30 seconds. And then I publicized it, and she got condemned by the Israelis and said, "How could you stand with him? How could you claim this is a Holocaust?" And right ahead, she retracted. She kind of disassociated. I didn't know this was there. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. And she was so scared of the Zionists, and she started issuing statements about how Israel has a right to self-defense, I think, at that time. So you can see that how politicians deal with things. But I think Mayor Parrish is exclusively different person. I think she truly cares about human rights. I think she truly cares about the suffering of Palestinians. I believe that she's really going to, one day be something important to do the Palestinian cause. And I think that her history speaks for itself. And you know, they're upset because this little, I don't know what you want to call this guy. He's nobody, Jeremy Levy or something. He's like a mayor,
Oh, the mayor of Hampstead.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a very vicious, uh, you know, he's like a venomous snake, all day supporting the genocidal, state of Israel. And I don't think he cares about his city, because all you look at it in his page is just tweets about Israel. And on the top of his page, like in his cover picture, he also has I stand with Israel. So he does, like, are you in Hampstead? Are you in Montreal? Are you a city mayor for real, or are you like caring about Canada and your surrounding issues, or are you caring about Israel only? Like, what is this, an Israeli village? Is it a settlement? So it's just unbelievable, the type of tweets, and it just kind of reminded me of Goldie Gamari that was ousted by Doug Ford. This little vicious, also venomous little snake was also all day kind of. She's an MPP at the time. Like, you're provincial, okay? We understand if you could tweet once in a while about some federal issues or some foreign issues, but she was all day, night, same thing, just talking about Islamic regime, Islamic regime, Islamic regime, or Israel in support of Israel, and then you know like, I was like, well, is she, people were asking a lot of times, is she really caring about her surrounding issues in her job? And like, you're an MPP in this area, why don't you deal with your issues there? And a little bit of tweets about that is fine, but no, she took it as a full-time job, just like Mr. Jeremy Levy, this guy, all day and night. And I wrote to him, I don't know, why don't you just move and become a mayor in one of the settlements over there, because you care so much about the occupation. Why don't you just keep going, supporting the occupation there, and then hopefully, when Palestine is liberated, you could be prosecuted and arrested. And we'd love to see that on live TV. I would love to see that guy honestly arrested and prosecuted right on live TV. The thing is, look, these Israelis, they have a level of arrogance and tyranny. It's unbelievable. It's inconceivable that you cannot understand sometimes the way they think they're over the world and they're over the laws, and that they can do whatever they want and get away with it. But they're gonna get some people that are gonna be thorns, okay, in their systems. And these people are gonna make the major change, such as Carolyn Parrish, such as Firas Al-Najim, such as different organizations, Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East, also CGJPME. I think they're doing some good work. NCCM also at times are doing good work. National Council of Canadian Muslims, I think. There's some good organizations out there that are fighting and standing up, like Muhammad Faqih. There's different people. I don't know. There's different individuals. It's not a lot, but they're making a big difference. Like Nelson Mandela. He was a rare person inside of a very bad area and system, and he made his work. He did his work. He struggled. He was in prison for 27 years. Like Sinwar, he was in prison, I think, 20 years plus. And then they ended up rising up to become leadership, and then to fighting and actually establishing justice on the earth. And Sinwar and Mandela both established justice on the earth. Different circumstances and different conditions for Mr. Mandela and for Sinwar. Okay, he didn't have such a military situation where the whole country is just militarized like Israel is. Okay, we're talking about 2024. You're talking about Mandela. This was a long time ago. At the end of the day, we received emails from lawyers threatening us with lawsuits and so on.
Are there any people you could maybe name?
Not on top of my head right now. I can't.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's best just to mention the issue, and then we people will understand. You know what I mean? And
Fair
people
enough.
know that we don't make up stuff. We're very people that work based on credibility. That's why even if you read in the article, they said that Firas, when he says something, he's gonna do it. We know that Firas, when he's gonna say that he's gonna do the vigil, he's gonna do the vigil. Like you know what I mean? Like if he says he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. He's not deterring. He's not scared. They know that about us because of our history, and that when we make a point, if we publicize that we canceled it, then we canceled it. We're not gonna do something tricky where we're gonna show up at the location and do some type of vigil to avoid the controversy. No, we did what was right at the time, and we believe that was right. But the main point is that we got lots of threats, like I said, that lawyers that are going to sue us and so on. We had threats that, did you know that the MPP and the person in charge of policing is Michael Krisner, and he's a Jewish Zionist, and he supports Israel. And it's true. This Michael Krisner, I was surprised and shocked that this person, he does not even look towards policing in a way where he's a partisan. He's taking a stand. Like, even police are not allowed to do this. Police, whenever there's a protest and there's two sides, they say we're not taking sides and we cannot give our opinion. But this man publicly goes out and supports the Israelis in Bathurst and Shepherd area, and he actually protests with them. Like, this is unbelievable. He goes almost every Sunday and protests on the Israeli side. Like I was like, what's going on here? Like, this person is in charge of policing. If you just look him up, Michael Krisner, and you can see that his main job has to do with security and policing and so on in Canada. Just do a little bit of research. And if you go on his Twitter, he actually posts videos of him protesting, saying, I'm Israel high. Sorry, Mr. Michael Krisner, I'm Palestine high. And we're going to see Palestine high, very high. And we're going to see that the voice of the Palestinians is very high. And we're going to make sure that the Palestinians have a very high voice, and that the Palestinians will one day get liberation. And these protests are all going to change when that happens. Once Palestine is liberated, and maybe they don't see it because they believe that the U.S. is with them, and that they have the superpower supporting them, and that they could do whatever crimes they can do
But look,
without
Firas,
being
the superpower is crumbling. Its power is crumbling. Its
true.
ability to project power is crumbling, as Ansarella has proposed a rather decisive blow to this with their operations in the Red Sea. But I just want to jump in because this story isn't
Yes.
exactly over yet. You've
Yeah.
had a move by Besija coming out to demand an apology by the 22nd, and talking about an urge and a push to censor Mrs. Parrish. So let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
they want to impose
How do you
sanctions.
think
They want to.
things could go forward in this case? Because this story isn't over yet.
Oh, yes, yes. They want to impose sanctions on Carolyn Parrish, but they don't want Israel to be sanctioned for all the breaches of international law, for all the settlement activities and criminal activities there. All the human rights abuses, all the massacres. They don't want to be held accountable for that. Israel, if Israel in any way, like today, all these organizations, boom, they jumped up to support Israel when the ICC, issued a warrant for arrest for Netanyahu and Gallant. They went all of them viciously to kind of safeguard Israel and safeguard these war criminals that are wanted now. And they're going to push the government to make sure they don't issue a statement in support of this warrant for arrest. Um, and the thing is, now they're going after Carolyn Parrish because they don't want her to be an example. They don't want this to expand. They don't want this to be able to grow in other locations in Canada. They don't want another politician to stand up like this and say, you know what, I'm going to put my foot down and I'm not going to be bowing down to you and I'm going to speak out the truth and I'm going to give these people their rights. No, they don't want that. You better follow our protocols. You better follow our agenda and you better bow down. But now, we've seen a different side, and we have a different politician. This is what we're looking for. These are the type of politicians that I think many Canadians are looking for, that don't bow down, that are not
And
scared.
especially, right, what's fascinating about the Parrish case, and obviously there's always an inherent skepticism with Canadian politicians, but it's quite noticeable with Parrish that she is in an actual position of power and could, have a backbone. That's what's quite noticeable. Yes, it's a city level, but simply put, it is an actual position of power where she can operate and change things. Because you see on the
True.
NDP level, when people talk about the NDP is the greatest thing on earth, like that foolishness. You see like the big talkers, they're not in power. The NDP MPs aren't in power, but Carolyn Parrish is. So it's very fascinating, and certainly I think let's see how things develop. Let's see how things develop.
Yeah, yeah. And then at the same time, um, she has a good history of standing up against injustices. She was against the war, imposed war on Iraq. She grabbed a doll that had Bush's face on it. It was very funny. It was very cute, but she grabbed the doll and threw it on the floor and stepped on it. At the time when she was in office, and she said, she obviously, when she said that about the Americans, she said Americans are bastards. She didn't mean all the Americans. She meant the American government. She meant the officials in the states. But they twisted it at that time. Most likely, the pro-Israeli lobby and so on, and their slaves on their paychecks and so on. Journalists that you call, they said that, oh, she's talking about all the Americans and she should apologize. But that's obviously, it's very clear that she was. It's the same thing with Iran. Iran always says that, for instance, in their slogan, they say "Mal bar America," and they always bring this out of context. It's saying "down, down USA" or "down with the U.S. regime" or "death with the U.S. regime." It's saying America, but that means American regime. And Imam Khamenei, the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, has clarified this many times, not once. Okay, that this is specifically to the American government, not to the American people, because there's a lot of American people that are good. And so a lot of American people are dragged in these wars and dragged in these problems, and they have no power to do anything pretty much except protest and speak out. But the thing is, they'll bring it out of context that, they're calling for a genocide, they're calling to kill all the people and so on. And it's continuous, you know what I mean? Like, they'll just find anything and get it out of context, okay? And they'll create their own narrative and they'll push it. Like there was a protest in Mississauga just a few days ago, and people were saying Al Jihad, Al Jihad. This is our path, this is our path, and we're going in millions as martyrs for Quds. This is obviously, like, jihad means to struggle, to fight. It does not mean specifically arms, but one of the wings to it, or one of the sides to it, is arms. Yes, and that is the right of the Palestinians. It's sanctioned by the United Nations that if a country is occupied, if people are occupied, they have a right to resist the occupation and fight, and by all means, and that's what the Palestinians are doing. And I specifically made a video to speak about this in front of the um, Royal of Legion office in Streetsville. I don't know if you got a chance to see that video. It was about like maybe 10 minutes or so on. I was talking about the issue after that whole issue. And the thing is also, we respected the Legion and we coordinated with them through email, and we changed the flyer to make sure that they don't. First, we just changed the flowers. We took them out, and then they said, "Thank you very much, but that's not enough. If you could please also take out the lest we forget, because that's also a part of our trademark." We went on forward to change that lest we forget, and because we wrote lest we forget our heroes, and then after that we just changed it to the slogan that we believe best fits the time and best fits this situation. and that is that Sinwar our Mandela. That Sinwar is our Mandela, and just like how the West looks at Mandela, how he rose up from being a person that was defamed and labeled as a terrorist into a hero and a human rights defender. And that's what we look at Sinwar from our end in West Asia and Middle East. And we'll continue to say that. This is a slogan. This is actually a hashtag now that's circulating actually in Twitter and different places. That Sinwar our Mandela. It's a it's actually growing, and hopefully it'll grow more and more, and people will understand more about his history. I guess maybe when this war is over, possibly there could be some beautiful documentaries about Sinwar that can kind of give a different picture of who this man is and what he stood for and what he sacrificed for, right? Um, yes, and we're praying for Carolyn Parrish. There's actually a protest happening for Carolyn Parrish. Um, I have nothing to do with this protest, to be honest with you. I'm not really involved in it, but I just heard from some people, and um, I did advise them to consult the city of Mississauga to see if it is the right time to do this. Not that we're trying to get permission, because we don't need that, and we're not going to do that. Like, we don't really need permission, but it's good to coordinate and consult at the same time, and kind of
So your
get.
perspective is just to not try to cause problems, right?
Yes, yes. I don't want any tensions. I don't want any violence. From the other side, it's going to come most likely because they want to have some damage towards the mayor. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, if somebody comes and attacks somebody, they're going to say, "Oh, to the mayor, look what you caused now. You stirred up a problem. You didn't do what we told you to do, and that is to stop this issue and stop this vigil. And now look, we're having tensions and fights, and things are gonna break out, and people are gonna be assaulted and so on. And you have a lot to do with this. And then they want to damage her image now. They want to fight against her now to, you know, to either damage her image, damage her power and what she's doing. You know, she's not even a power hungry person. She's a very humble person. But anyways, they either damage her by that area, or by, like, you can see that. Oh my God, the amount of articles and how filthy the words they use, and the titles they use on this woman. It's just disgusting. You know what I mean? And then when you see that there's not much politicians to support her publicly, also shows you how compromised this regime is, and this government is, and how weak these politicians are. You already had somebody now, uh, break out of these barriers, break out of this blockade, to speak out for the Palestinians and to speak out for the rights of the Canadians, of their charter right. And then you won't even just retweet or say something. They're all scared for their seats. They're all scared to get condemned. They're all scared of the Zionist lobby. They're cowards. These are not real politicians. These are cowards. These are people that are just working for their own benefits and interests, and not working for the city's interests. You know what I mean? They should break out and support her. I think all politicians here, especially the local ones, look at Omar Gabra. He's so quiet. He's just sitting there silently hiding. He's like another Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority guy that hides all the time, and plays like I'm here to be peaceful with a fully armed military militarized system like Israel, that every day steals homes and destroys the lives and the history of the Palestinians. And then he just sits there doing nothing about it, going on a press conference, just condemning here and there, speaking a few things, and then going back to his house and his little mafia. And that's exactly what these guys are. They want their security. They want to take pictures. They want to meet people. They want to go to restaurants. They want to have meetings. They want to sit with the prime minister, or they want to sit with the leader of their political party, but they don't want to do something that is the right thing to do. As like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King's, I love these two slogans, is if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. You need to stand for what's right. Okay? And another one is it is always the right time to do what is right. It is always the right time to do what is right. If it's the right thing to do, then do it. And this is the right thing to do. It
All
is
right,
the
for
right thing to do.
us, it is indeed, this fight for Palestinian liberation and supporting it is indeed the right thing. And I think on that note, for us, we should end off the interview. So, Firas, Al-Najim, thank you very much for speaking to the Canada Files. Now, how can people keep up with the work of this organization?
They can right now. They have made different campaigns, the Israelis internationally, to close down a lot of our accounts. We had like before TikTok account over 70,000 followers, and it was growing. And then they did a campaign to close them down. And then same thing with Instagram and Facebook and so on. So we do reopen them, but right now they should focus on our Twitter account, and that is at CD number 4_HR. Canadian Defenders for Human Rights. And then they can follow developments there. We are updating about all the different things that are happening and so on, and things that have to do with human rights, things have to do with our local cities, and things that have to do with international issues and developments. And that's the best way, I think, for Twitter right now, X as they call it.
The Twitter account for CD4HR is CD4_HR, if audience members
Correct.
are interested in following it. So again, for us, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with the Canada Files audience. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of this interview. If you appreciate this journalism, please do support it. Setting up a monthly, annual donation, or one-time donation would be greatly appreciated. Goodbye, everyone. Take care.